Hey guys, let's start. It's already late because people are not joining. Okay, so we have seen till strings. So do you guys have any doubts till this point in the methods that we have gone through, like concat, ignore case, all these? Do you have any doubts or queries?
No, Siri. No, Anusha.
Okay, so Umer, you have something? Or so did you go through all of these or you need more time? You both. Hey, I don't hear from you guys. I don't know what's wrong.
I went through some of them.
Uh-huh. So, any doubts till that point?
No.
Okay. So, wasn't the time enough or to go through everything, or are we going too fast?
Just a little bit.
A little bit. We're going too fast?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Should have given me feedback, man.
Well, I am now. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just that it's taking me a little while to, kind of
Mm-hmm.
put all this together because I've never, seen any of this before.
True. I mean, all of the batch, all of
Yeah.
us are absolutely new to this.
Okay.
So assume everyone is more or less plus or minus 10, but at the same pace as you. Okay,
Okay.
so if it's an overload for you, it could be overload for others too. So, okay, we'll go with slowly. Not a problem.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'll cover few concepts today. As in why Java is called object oriented. Okay, and that's all. I'll close it there so that you can have some time reading the previous topics. Okay, and practicing them. So if we have this try it out pop-up, open it and write it and run it. Okay, otherwise you can also do it in Eclipse. Eclipse, you would get hands-on. That would be easy for you for further sessions. Better do it in Eclipse. Okay, so we have gone till strings. Then I'll keep this for later. I'll just go through these theoretical concepts for now because you'll get time to practice the other concepts. Right. So why is Java called object oriented? Because it is based on classes and objects. Once it runs around classes and objects, what are the capabilities of classes and objects? What is the capability of such a mechanism to have classes, objects, and then such a complicated structure? Why do we have? Because it gives us flexibility with development. Okay, what are those flexible points? Those flexible points, the first one is like we have seen yesterday, we have a main class, then we have a subclass in it. Okay, so whatever the main class has, the variables, not the methods, the variables, whatever are present in the main class, they can be used by the private class. So if I have, subclass, shit, what is that? Sorry. Yeah, by the subclass. Those variables can be used by the subclass. And if we have some 10 to 15 subclasses, like students. For example, we have a class called student. Then we have a subclass called standard 1, standard 2. Forget about this, keep it public, keep it accessible for now. Okay, and 3, 4, 5, 6, so on. Okay, so for whatever standard, okay, so for whatever standard it is, there are few variables which are common. Name, which is a string. Okay, then we have a string, school, the school name. Then we have string, age, string, actually age can be int. Okay, so one or two more, few are common. Okay, then uh, we have string subjects equal to English, math, that's all. In standard 2, they might be having uh, some local language like Spanish or French or Hindi, Sanskrit, anything. That's wrong. Okay, sorry, wrong parenthesis. So for writing an array, we should be using the flower brackets, and then I was using square brackets. Okay, then for standard 7, they will be having science, and then geography, and then history, and so on. So each of them is the same subjects. But why can't we declare it here just like this? We can't declare it here because the length is different. This has only 2, this has 3, and this has like six subjects. So if we declare it here, how do we specify the size? We can't, right? So these are the variables which are individual for each of the class. Whatever those common variables are present, these can be used by each of the standard also. Okay, this is one advantage of having classes and objects. Okay, object oriented. Then the next one is inheritance. Inheritance means just like that, you inherit some properties from your parents, some properties from your grandparents. So whatever is left out by your grandparents is yours, right? But it has to be distributed if you have some siblings, but it's not the case in Java. They are all passed on to each of the children. Okay, So just like that, inheritance. So how do I write inheritance? Extends is a keyword which we use to depict inheritance. First we define one class, then we define another class, and we say it extends super. A subclass will extend superclass. So the subclass has everything given by the superclass, including variables and methods. Okay, there I may be having a method called public void for example fee. Correct fee. It might be simply having this, and then stage 2 extends standard 1. Okay, in this case it means that even if I did not write the method fee inside this class, it virtually still has this fee. It still has this subjects, it still has that fee. Because I have again declared subjects, it will be overwritten. Overwriting happens if I declare it again. But even though if I did not write fee here specifically, this stage 2 still gets this method from stage 1 because it has extents. Okay, so that means this guy inherits everything from this guy. Okay, and so it's like class, subclass, extends, super. For example, we have one class called calculation and we have another class called my calculation, which extends calculation. Okay, so if it extends calculation, it means even if I did not declare addition and subtraction inside this, but it virtually has addition and subtraction in it, and the variable z. I have declared variable z as integer here, but here I did not declare the variable. As I said, these variables are limited to this class. Okay, but here without declaring it, why is it using z? Because it inherits everything from calculation. It also inherits z, so it has z by default. You can declare if you want to replace it, but there is one always that comes from the parent. Okay, so here uh, in the public static void main, we are declaring an object for my calculation. Okay, so when we are declaring an object demo, that means with the help of this demo I can access the method multiplication by giving a dot like this, demo dot multiplication. Okay, but because it is inherited, now I can do demo dot addition and demo dot subtraction also. Okay, these things are inherited. So for every object of the child class, everything in the parent is accessible just like its own stuff. As if its own, it can be accessed directly. Okay. And then you might be wondering what this is inside the parenthesis. These are called arguments. Okay. So when writing the definition of the method, which means that what the method is supposed to do, that is called definition. So if you are writing down the definition of the method, then you have to mention the data types of each of the argument, and with the help of x and y we do process our job inside the method, inside the definition of the method. And when reusing the function here, which is known as calling the function. Okay, when I say a function call, it means that I am gonna reuse a function which has been defined somewhere else. Okay, so when reusing the function, I will pass two different things, but their data type should match. Both of them should be integers. Okay, this is about arguments. This comes in the concepts of methods, but I'm just telling it here so that you'll have a basic understanding of what it is. We'll go through it again. So that means it's like this. Okay, this is the child and the parent. The parent becomes an integral part of child, right? Whatever the parent has is passed on to the child, obviously. If it has 10 childs, still all the 10 get it. It's not a distribution process that happens in real time, but it's like uh, it is some properties which are inherited equally. Okay. Then I'm using this demo.addition, and then in this method, for example, I have another method. Okay, in the same thing, in the bigger class, in the child class, I have another method, public void calculate some formula. Okay, then int x comma int y. Now I want to calculate some formula like a plus b whole square or something. Okay, which means uh, z equal to x multiplied by x plus 2 multiplied by x multiplied by y plus y multiplied by y. Okay, this means what does this mean? It means addition, right? So I can do like this, z equals super dot addition of x comma x, sorry, x multiplied by x comma 2 multiplied by x multiplied by y, right? Then again super dot addition of this comma y multiplied by y. Okay, so here I am referring to a method which is not present in the class but is being present in the superclass, as in the parent class. So to refer to parent, we will use the keyword super. Okay, and for example, here I have again written public void addition okay. What if I have repeated it? But this does something else, z equal to x and the whole thing multiplied by 2. Okay, this is some other method where you want to do twice of addition. Okay, in this scenario, if I do not use the keyword super, it will automatically pick this method. So if I use the word super, it will pick the method from its parent class. Okay, and how do you refer the method addition present in its own class? We use the keyword this. This dot addition means its own addition method. Super dot addition means the parent's addition method, right? So that is where these two keywords super and this come into picture. Okay. Then we have something called constructors. Here we'll see the constructor thingy later. No worry. Okay. Then we have something called overriding. So in our example earlier, we had two addition functions. Even after inheritance, we had addition here and addition here. Okay, so repeating a parent's method with a different functionality is called overriding. That means you're overriding literally the existing method because it's already inherited and we are still overriding it. It's like you got a house from your parents and you're remodeling it. So you're overriding all the uh, properties of that house with your own flavor. Okay, so you're overriding it. Fine, you get the word overriding, right? So why do we have to do overriding? Why can't we take a new method here? Why do we have to do overriding? Sometimes some properties will change. Okay, like within animals, it said animals can move, but this specifically described that dogs can walk and run. And there is one more animal, cat. Class cat extends animal in that cats can walk, run, jump and squeeze into small spaces. Okay, that is how they move. The way they move has changed. So the property of movement has changed from one subclass to another subclass. Okay, so to describe the same property, if we don't override, and if we give the same different name here, it means that dog will get two properties, move and something else. Okay, it means that animals can move and dogs can walk and run, which is basically meaningless. Okay, in that case we have to override to avoid a property which is not applicable anymore, right? So this is one property of Java, like overriding, method overriding it is called as. Okay. Then we have something called polymorphism. Uh, Polymorphism means something is taking multiple shapes at the same time. Okay. Mm, just a second. Yeah, so polymorphism is something that takes different types or forms. Okay, for example, we declare something called interface here. Okay, interface is like an outline. So you have a door, for example, the pattern on the door and where the latch is, where the handle is, whether it is left-handed or right-handed, it opens in or out, that all might be different, but still a door is a door, right? That's a basic property of a door. So to give that skeleton, instead of class, which has all the details in it, instead of class, we write something called interface. Okay, that's like skeleton of what you're writing. What you're going to write in future, that's just a skeleton. So we can give that shape to that skeleton by adding up all the details with the help of the next class, which is going to implement that interface. Interfaces will be implemented. Classes can be extended. Okay, extends and implements. Interfaces are implemented. Some other classes are extended. We can extend only something which has a shape already. Which doesn't have a shape will be implemented. Okay, so you may hear a concept called runtime polymorphism. Means you are giving a shape to the given interface actually when you're running the program. Before running the program, this doesn't have any shape and properties. Uh, so we are giving a perfectly defined properties during runtime. They are not given during like what fixed time or during coding or during compiling. The properties are not assigned. They are assigned only during runtime depending on what is given here. Then we have abstraction. Abstraction is like you have an idea and it's like dealing with ideas rather than events. Okay, so you cover all the unimportant details and show up only the important details. Okay, so if you write a specific class as abstract, then any other class which is going to access this class or any other object, okay, will not be able to see what is inside the class. It can access its methods, but it cannot access its variables directly. It cannot access the information that is present inside the class directly. It can only work through its methods. Okay, so if you want to hide the functionality but still do the job, you're not bothered how the functionality is. For example, we have like different types of emails: POP3, IMAP, Exchange. We have lot types of emails, right? So we pick up Gmail or some email given by the company from with the help of Microsoft Outlook, which is of type Exchange, or Gmail, which is of type POP3. Okay, we just send the email. We just open it, type the matter, and send the email. We're not bothered what happens in the backend. Similarly, to hide the actual functionality, we define some classes abstract. So what happens inside is not shown to the user. Only the actions like entering the text, clicking on send is shown. Okay. When I click on send, it will call another method, and that method we will write it as private. Okay. Because this class is abstract, We will have private variables and private methods. We will write it as private and it will not be accessible. Okay. So if you want, you can extend it like inheritance. Sorry. So if you inherit, only the public properties will be inherited and the private properties cannot be inherited most of the time. Okay. Then we have encapsulation. We were creating a package. You remember? Before creating a class in Eclipse, we created a package called practice. That means we are rolling up these two programs into one package. So it's like something like you put all the bubbles into a capsule and seal the capsule. So you put all your programs into a package and close it up. Okay, so that is one form of encapsulation. Then we have this one. We just mention the data as private. We don't specify anything like abstract or anything here. We just make it private. Okay. Declare the variables of a class as private, but the methods are not private. Okay. So in this way, you can hide data. In data hiding or encapsulation, we mention things in a class and the data can be accessed only through methods. It cannot be accessed directly. In interfaces, we have seen packages. Like that's what we created a package here, right? Like practice. Okay, just that would be packaging part. There's nothing else. Okay, so when I have one more package here now. New. Um, oops. New package. Some practice 2. Then I drop a new class into it saying new program. Okay. In this new program, if I want to use something like this program, how do I do that? Here I will write import statements, import practice. Okay. Then here I will say practice dot first program and blah blah blah. There is a lot of syntax to it. I'm just showing. Or students dot standard 1. Okay, so if I want to use this practice, I will import like this. Or there are a few predefined packages. All is that we don't have to prepare packages on our own. There are many predefined packages which we are going to use. One such package is java.lang.io, which is used for input output to deal with files. Okay, so we have a lot of predefined packages which we will be using when we start working. Okay, we will be importing something like import arg dot openqa dot selenium. That's star means everything. We might be using something like this in future to import selenium and then work with selenium. Without this, selenium will not work. So import statements are required when working because selenium is a predefined Java package given by a vendor outside Java. So we have to import that package in order to work. Why do we have to import when it is already present in Java? So if it is already present, when running the program, the Java should give access to each and every package when there are thousands of built-in packages in Java to each program, which becomes a huge pressure on the system. Instead of that, we just specify what packages we are going to use and only those 5 to 6 packages will be given like access to, and those packages will be imported during the runtime, and it's easy to work. If we have to import all the packages during the runtime without the import statements, it would be really hectic. So we take import statements when working with other packages. Okay, so we'll close it for today for here because you want to go back and practice the previous concepts till strings. Tomorrow we'll start off with the next topics, and we'll since you could not cover up all the topics, it was quite fast to understand. We'll have a questionnaire tomorrow, right? Okay, then also try to understand what is difference between overriding and polymorphism. Okay, what is difference between uh, abstraction and encapsulation? Okay, what is difference between encapsulation and packaging? Then difference between abstraction and interface. Okay, try to gather these differences by tomorrow when going through these topics as well. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Tomorrow we'll go through the next topics and also practice some problems so that we'll get comfortable around with Java syntax and stuff like that. Chalo. Anything else?
No.
Alright, guys. See you tomorrow.